Welcome yet again to In Focus. Now, Sunday is Mother's Day. Well, this year I thought I'd indulge you a little bit by telling you about my mother, who is alive and well and living here in the United States with me. She's my mother for sure, but also a whole lot more, as you find out. This is my mother, Mrs. Vesta Sithole. It's Sunday, and she's just getting back home from church.
How are you? All right. Okay. I've got 4 children and 1 adopted son whom I brought up, Andulile. And then my firstborn son is Guarugano. Then I've got twins, Rufaro and Tapiwa, and Yundi Miyake.
My mother was born in Zimbabwe, but eventually ended up in Tanzania, where she met our father, Jackson Mwambepo Mwakaliele.
Jackson was a friend of my cousin brother, John Mataure, who was also in the liberation movement, and he introduced me to him and ended up in his hands, so to speak.
But our father died young, just 36, leaving my mom a widow at 30 with 5 kids to raise.
It was not very easy for me to raise you all because I was only working as a secretary in a bank, and to raise enough to put you in school, to feed you, just to live a comfortable life was not that easy. But thank heavens, here you are, all grown up. Yes.
At 19, she joined the party of the late Joshua Nkomo, the Zimbabwe African People's Union, ZAPU, to help end white rule in Zimbabwe under then Prime Minister Ian Smith. She was sworn to secrecy, even to her parents, and left her country and her nursing career for the unknown under the cover of dark.
We had to cross the Zambezi River by boat, canoe. I won't call it a boat, it was a small canoe which only carried about 4 people. I was praying to God to save me. I was praying for forgiveness from my mother. I was praying for everybody to forgive me because of the way I'd left, without telling anybody where I was going. I just knew if a crocodile catches me, that's it. Nobody will ever know what happened to me.
The final destination was Tanganyika, now Tanzania. She was one of very few girls recruited. Eventually, there was a split in ZAPU, and she ended up joining the splinter group ZANU, the Zimbabwe African National Union, led by the late Reverend Ndabaningi Sithole.
I am a freedom fighter. I actually played my part. In the beginning, before many people started coming, I used to go to Zambia to try and woo people to join the armed struggle, to join the army, our ZANLA, because nobody was really freely willing coming over to join.
She tells her story in a self-published memoir.
This is my book called My Life with an Unsung Hero. Because there are so many contradictions, I decided, well, I must write a book to tell many people who didn't know how ZAPU started, up to the point when ZANU became such a successful party that managed to fight and bring Smith to his knees. And also to mention the contributions that Reverend Sithole had done during his time as the president of this party and as a citizen of Zimbabwe.
Reverend Sithole and my mother eventually married, but he died in 2000. Almost 70 now, her political involvement is minimal, but she's still pushing for the change she risked her freedom and life for.
Everybody who is a Zimbabwean should have a right to work, to live, and to be a Zimbabwean without fear and favor of another individual.
She has a quiet life now here in the US, gardening, cooking, and still fulfilling her #1 role of mother and grandmother to a progeny in Zimbabwe and Tanzania.
The values I've instilled in my children, if they take them, is hard work, to be honest. To love themselves, and to be united. That's my goal. And that has been my goal.
An amazing mother you have there, Ndemi.
Yes, she is.
A good place to end our show today. Thanks for watching and have a good night.
Good night.